The great meeting hall of the Galactic Council stretched wide and tall like a metal mountain. 12 different alien races sat in their special chairs around the massive round table. Each chair was made to fit the body of each race. Some were tall and thin for the bird-like Zephyrians. Others were low and wide for the rock-like Corvan Empire members. The crystal beings called Nexari had chairs that glowed with soft blue light. In the center of the room stood a human woman. Her name was Elena Vasquez, and she was Earth's top ambassador. She wore a simple black suit and stood very still. Her dark eyes looked at each council member as they talked about her people. "The humans are too wild," said High Speaker Zenth of the Zephyrians. His long neck bent forward as he spoke. His feathers were bright gold, and they moved when he got excited. "They fight too much. They ask too many questions. They do not follow the old ways like the rest of us." The crystal being next to him made a sound like wind chimes. This was how the Nexari talked. A machine changed the sound into words everyone could understand. "We agree," the machine voice said. "Humans change things too fast. They make new ideas. When the old ideas work fine. This brings chaos to our peaceful galaxy." Elena did not move. She just listened. She had heard these same words many times before in the past year. General Thoric of the Corvan Empire hit the table with his big stone fist. The sound was loud like thunder. Yesterday, human traders refused to follow proper trade rules on Corvan. Station 7, they said the rules were unfair. Who are they to say what is fair? We have used these rules for 1,000 years. And last month, added Council Member Vix of the Theta Collective, human explorers went into the Forbidden Zone, near the galactic rim. We told them not to go there, but they said they needed to know what was beyond it. They could have started a war with the old machines that sleep there. More voices joined in. Each alien race had a story about humans causing problems. They talked about human scientists who asked too many questions about old technology. They talked about human diplomats who tried to change peace treaties that had worked for centuries. They talked about human children who played too loud on space stations. Elena knew all these stories. She had tried to explain her people many times before. Humans were curious. They wanted to learn and grow. They wanted to make things better. But the council did not want to understand. The talking went on for 3 hours. Finally, High Counselor Yenth of the first race stood up. The first race looked like tall, thin people but with silver skin and no hair. They were the oldest race in the galaxy and led the council. "We have talked about this problem for many months," Yenth said. His voice was calm and cold. "The human race brings too much disorder to our galaxy. They do not fit with our way of life. We must vote now." Elena watched as each council member pressed a button on their chair. Red light meant they wanted humans to leave the galaxy. Green light meant humans could stay. Blue light meant they were not sure. The lights appeared on a big screen above the table. Elena counted them quickly. 9 red lights, 2 green lights, 1 blue light. "The vote is finished," Yenth announced. "By the power of the Galactic Council, all humans must leave civilized space. You have 1 standard year to return to your home system. After that time, any human found outside the Sol system will be arrested." Elena took a deep breath. She had known this moment would come. For months, the council had been growing more angry with humanity. They were afraid of change. They were afraid of new ideas. They wanted everything to stay the same forever. "We understand," Elena said. Her voice was steady and calm. "Humanity will respect the council's decision." Some council members looked surprised. They had expected Elena to argue or beg or get angry, but she just stood there with a small smile on her face. "You accept this easily," said Zenth. His feathers moved with confusion. "We accept it completely," Elena said. "If the council believes the galaxy is better without humans, then we will leave. We have always believed that beings should be free to choose their own path. This includes choosing who they want to live with." General Thoric leaned forward. "You will take all your people? All your ships, all your buildings and machines?" "Everything," Elena said. "We will leave nothing behind that belongs to us. We We'll not force our presence on anyone who does not want us here. The crystal being made another wind chime sound. This is wise, the machine voice said. Humans show wisdom for the first time. Elena's smile got a little wider, but she said nothing. High Counselor Yenth nodded. Very good. The Council is pleased that humans are being reasonable about this. We will send official notices to all human colonies and stations. The countdown begins today. Elena bowed slightly to the Council. We thank the Council for their patience with us over these many years. We hope the galaxy finds the peace it seeks. She turned and walked toward the door. Her footsteps echoed in the quiet hall. As she reached the exit, Counselor Myra of the Peaceful Union called out. The Peaceful Union was one of the two races that had voted green. Ambassador Vasquez, Myra said. Her people looked like tall cats that walked on two legs. Are you really not upset about this? Elena stopped and turned back. Counselor Myra, my people learned long ago that you cannot force friendship. If someone does not want you around, it is better to leave with dignity than to stay where you are not welcome. But what will you do? Asked Counselor Finn of the New Worlds Alliance. His people were the other race that voted green. They looked like small bears with big eyes. Where will you go? We will find our own way, Elena said. Humans are good at that. We always have been. With that, she left the council hall. In the days that followed, news of the council's decision spread across the galaxy like fire. On human colonies and space stations, people were not surprised. They had felt the growing coldness from other races for months. The reaction was not what the council expected. There were no protests. There were no angry messages. There were no threats or demands. Instead, human governments across the galaxy simply said, "We understand," and began making plans to leave. Within a week, the first human ships started moving. Toward Earth, they were cargo ships carrying personal belongings and small treasures that families wanted to keep. The ships moved slowly and carefully, following all space traffic rules perfectly. On space stations across the galaxy, humans began closing their shops and offices. They paid all their bills, they finished all their work contracts. They said polite goodbyes to alien friends and neighbors. Many aliens were confused by how calm the humans were about leaving. Dr. Sarah June worked on Research Station Omega near the Galactic Center. She had been studying ancient alien technology with a team of Nixari scientists for 5 years. When she told them she had to leave, they were shocked. But you are so close to solving the energy puzzle, said her crystal partner through the translation. Machine, no one understands the old machines like you do. Sarah smiled sadly. I have to go. But I wrote down everything I learned. You can use my notes to continue the work. The Nexari scientist's crystal body dimmed with sadness. It will not be the same without your strange human ideas. Maybe that's what the council wants, Sarah said quietly. Similar scenes happened on worlds across the galaxy. Human doctors finished treating their patients and trained alien doctors to take their place. Human farmers showed alien workers how to take care of the crops. Human teachers made sure their alien students had everything they needed to keep learning. The council watched all this activity with satisfaction. Finally, the troublesome humans were leaving. Soon, the galaxy would return to the peaceful, orderly way of life that had existed for thousands of years before humans arrived. They had no idea what they were about to lose. 3 months had passed since the council's vote. Across the galaxy, humans were leaving their homes and jobs like water flowing downhill. But something strange was happening that the council did not expect. The humans were not just packing their clothes and flying away. They were taking everything with them, everything they had built, everything they had learned, and everything they had created over the past 300 years on the farming world of Kepler Prime. The Zephyrian government watched in growing worry as human farmers loaded their equipment onto big cargo ships. The humans had been growing food on Kepler Prime for 60 years. They knew how to make the soil rich and healthy. They knew which crops grew best in each season. They knew how to fight the plant diseases that killed crops. Governor Henth stood in his office looking out the window at the empty fields. His golden feathers were dull with stress. His assistant, a younger Zephyrian named Crix, brought him the daily reports. "Sir, the humans have taken all their farming machines," Crix said. "They also took their seed banks. And they destroyed all the computer files about soil treatment before they left." "Destroyed them?" Henth asked. "Why would they do that?" "They said the knowledge belonged to them," Crix replied. "They said if we wanted them to leave, they would take everything that was theirs." Henth felt a cold fear in his stomach. Without the human farmers who would grow food for the 12 million Zephyrians on Kepler Prime, the native Zephyrian farmers had never learned the human methods. They still used old ways that produced much less food. "Contact the human leader," Henth ordered. "Tell them we need them to leave their farming knowledge with us." But when Crix tried to call the human farming chief, he found that all the humans had already left the planet. Their ships were gone. Their houses were empty. It was like they had never been there at all. The same thing was happening on worlds across the galaxy. On the mining world of Ferris 7, the rock-like Corvan workers watched human mining experts pack up their equipment. The humans had invented new ways to dig deep into the planet's core to find rare metals. They had machines that could work. In the hottest, most dangerous places, Foreman Grek, a massive Corvan with arms like tree trunks, tried to convince the human mining chief to stay. "You make good money here," Grek said. "The council's law is stupid. Just ignore it and keep working." The human chief, a small woman named Maria Santos, shook her head. "We cannot ignore the law. The council spoke for everyone in the galaxy. If they say we are not wanted, then we will go." "But who will run the deep mines?" Grek asked. "My people do not know how to use your machines. We do not know how to find the metal veins like you do." Maria looked sad but firm. "You will have to learn on your own, or find another way." "Teach us before you go," Grek begged. "Show us how to do what you do." "I tried to teach your people for 5 years," Maria said. "They said human methods were too dangerous. They said the old Corvan ways were better. Now you can use the old ways." With that, Maria walked away. The next day, all the human miners were gone. The deep mines stopped working. The Corvan workers tried to operate the human machines, but they broke them within hours. The production of rare metals dropped by 70% in 1 week. On the crystal world of Nexus Prime, the Nexari faced a different problem. Human scientists had been working with them to study ancient alien technology. The humans had a way of thinking that was different from all other races. They looked at old machines and saw new possibilities. Crystal Singer Vorth had worked with human scientists for 20 years. When the humans began packing their research equipment, Vorth tried to understand. "Your departure creates inefficiency," Vorth sang through the translation machine. "Our research will slow without your creative input." Dr. James Wright, the human research leader, carefully packed his tools into a metal box. "We offered to share our research methods with your people many times. You said our ways were too chaotic and unscientific, but your chaos produces results." Vorth admitted, "You solve problems we cannot solve." "Then maybe the council should have thought about that before voting us out," James said quietly. Vorth's crystal body flickered with confusion. "Can you not leave your research data for us to continue?" James sealed his box and looked at the crystal being. That data came from human minds thinking in human ways. Without humans to interpret it, the data is just numbers and words. You need the thinking behind it, not just the results. The next day, the human research station was empty. The Nexari tried to continue the experiments using the equipment the humans left behind. But within weeks, they realized they did not understand how the equipment really worked. They had been watching the humans use it, but they had never learned why the humans did things in certain ways. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on hundreds of worlds. Human doctors finished treating their patients and then packed up their medical knowledge. Human teachers completed their classes and then took their lesson plans with them. Human engineers shut down their projects and removed all their blueprints. But the strangest thing was happening in space itself. For 300 years, humans had been exploring the galaxy. They had found safe routes through dangerous areas. They had mapped asteroid fields and marked gravity wells. They had discovered which systems had pirates and which systems were safe for trade. Human patrol ships had been protecting trade routes from bandits and space pirates. Human exploration vessels had been finding new worlds and new resources. Human diplomatic ships had been carrying messages between alien races, who did not like to talk to each other directly. Now all these ships were flying back toward Earth, the galaxy's space lanes, which had been safe and well protected for decades, were suddenly empty of human patrols. Captain Zek of the Theta Collective was one of the first to notice the problem. He commanded a trade ship that carried goods between the core worlds and the rim territories. The route he used had been mapped by human explorers 50 years ago. Human patrol ships had kept it clear of pirates, but on his latest trip, Captain Zek's ship was attacked by raiders twice in 1 week. The pirates had moved into areas that had been safe for decades. Without human patrols to stop them, they were becoming bold and dangerous. "Where are the human patrol ships?" Zek asked his communication officer. "Gone, sir," came the reply. "All human ships are heading back to their home system. The space lanes are unprotected now." Zek felt a chill run through his 6 arms. "Contact Theta Command. Tell them we need military escorts for all trade ships." But Theta Command had the same problem everyone else had. They had been depending on human patrols to keep the space lanes safe. Now they had to find enough of their own ships to protect thousands of trade routes across the galaxy. The problem was bigger than anyone had realized. Humans had not just been living in the galaxy. They had been holding it together in ways that no one had noticed. On Earth, Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in the command center of the Global Space Authority. Huge screens showed the positions of human ships across the galaxy. Thousands of tiny dots were moving slowly toward Earth like a great river flowing home. "Status report," Elena said to her aide, Commander Park. 60% of our people are already on their way home," Park reported. "All colonies have been evacuated. All research stations are closed. All trade posts are shut down." "What about our diplomatic missions?" Elena asked. "Closed. All our ambassadors have left their posts. We are no longer mediating any disputes between alien races." Elena nodded. She looked at another screen that showed news reports from across the galaxy. Trade was slowing down, mining operations were failing, research projects were stopping. Small conflicts were starting between races that humans had helped keep peaceful. "Are you sure about this path?" Park asked quietly. "We could have stayed and fought the Council's decision. Many alien races supported us privately." Elena smiled, the same calm smile she had worn in the Council chamber. "Commander, sometimes the best way to show people what they are losing is to take it away. The Council wanted us gone. We are giving them exactly what they asked for. And if they change their minds, then they will have learned something important about the value of diversity," Elena said. "And if they do not change their minds, then we will have learned something important about our place in this galaxy." Outside the windows of the command center, the first human ships from distant colonies were already arriving at Earth. The great exodus was almost complete. Soon, for the first time in 3 centuries, all of humanity would be together in one star system. The galaxy was about to discover what it truly meant to live without humans. 2 years had passed since the last human ship left galactic space. The Galactic Council had expected peace and order to return to their worlds. Instead, everything was falling apart. High Counselor Yenth sat in his private office reading reports from across the galaxy. Each report was worse than the last. His silver skin had grown dull with worry, and his usually perfect posture was bent with stress. The first report came from the Zephyrian colonies. Food shortages were spreading across 12 worlds. Without human farming knowledge, crop yields had dropped by 60%. The Zephyrians were facing their first famine in over 1,000 years. The second report was from Corvan mining worlds. Production of rare metals had nearly stopped. The deep mines that humans had operated were flooded or collapsed. The Corvan workers could not figure out how to fix the complex human machines. The third report made Yen's hands shake. Pirates were attacking trade ships almost every day. Without human patrol fleets, the space lanes had become dangerous highways where criminals ruled. Trade between worlds had dropped by half because ships were too afraid to travel. But the worst news was just beginning. Yenth's communication device buzzed with an urgent message. The face of General Thoric appeared on the screen. The big Kauvan's stone features were twisted with anger. "The Theta Collective has invaded 3 of our border worlds," Thoric growled. "They claim we attacked their mining ships first." "This is a lie." Before Yenth could respond, another call came in. Counselor Vix of the Theta Collective appeared on a second screen. His insect-like face was clicking with rage. "The Corvan Empire has destroyed our research station on Gamma 7, Vix buzzed. "This is an act of war. We demand council action immediately." Yenth looked from one angry face to the other. "Both of you calm down. We can solve this problem peacefully like we always have." "How?" Thoric demanded. "There are no human diplomats to mediate between us. Your council members all take sides. The Nexari support the Theta Collective. The Zephyrians support us. There is no neutral voice." Yenth felt a cold shock of understanding. For 300 years, humans had served as neutral mediators in disputes between alien races. When the Corvans and the Theta Collective had problems, they both trusted human diplomats to be fair. When trade disputes arose, human judges settled them without bias. Now there were no humans to keep the peace. "We can mediate this ourselves," Yenth said weakly. Vix's compound eyes glittered with anger. "You? Your first race has always looked down on younger species? Why would we trust you to be fair?" "And the Nexari think they are the smartest beings in the galaxy," Thoric added. "They always side with whoever they think is more logical." The 2 alien leaders continued arguing until Yenth cut off the communication. He sat alone in his office, realizing that the council had lost something they had never known they possessed. The humans had been the glue that held different alien races together. The problems grew worse each day. On the crystal world of Nexus Prime, the Nexari research projects were failing one by one. Without human creativity and strange thinking, they could not solve the puzzles that had challenged scientists for centuries. Crystal Singer Vorth stood in the empty human laboratory, surrounded by machines that no longer worked. The translation device carried his mournful song to the few remaining Nexari scientists. "We have tried to continue the energy research," Vorth sang. "But we think in patterns. The humans thought in chaos. Chaos revealed truths that patterns could not find." His research partner, Crystal Singer Neff, flickered with agreement. "We recorded everything the humans did. We watched every experiment. But we cannot understand why they made the choices they made." "Their minds worked differently," Vorth admitted. "They saw possibilities where we saw only problems. They asked questions we would never think to ask." The Nexari had always believed that logic and careful thinking were the best ways to understand the universe. But the humans had shown them that sometimes the best answers came from wild guesses and crazy experiments, without human scientists to challenge their assumptions. Nexari research had become slow and predictable. Similar problems were spreading everywhere. On worlds across the galaxy, alien races were discovering how much they had depended on human knowledge and skills without ever realizing it. The Peaceful Union, one of the 2 races that had voted to keep humans in the galaxy, was struggling with their own crisis. Their leader, Counselor Myra, called an emergency meeting with her advisors. "Our medical centers are failing," she announced to the gathered cat-like beings. Human doctors had been treating diseases that our own doctors could not cure. Now those diseases are spreading again. Her chief medical officer, Dr. Shen, switched his tail nervously. "We have human medical textbooks and recordings of their procedures. But human medicine was not just about following rules. They had instincts about patients that we cannot learn from books." "What do you mean?" Myra asked. "Humans could look at a sick person and sense things that our medical scanners could not detect," Dr. Shen explained. "They called it bedside manner, but it was more than that. They understood how emotions and hope affected healing. They knew when to bend the rules to help a patient." Myra's ears flattened with worry. Can we contact the humans? Ask them to send doctors back? We tried, Dr. Shen said sadly. But the Sol system is blocked by some kind of barrier. Our communication signals cannot get through. The barrier around Earth had appeared 6 months after the human exodus ended. No one knew what it was or how. It worked. Ships that tried to approach the Sol system simply disappeared from sensors until they turned around and flew away. Meanwhile, the conflicts between alien races were getting worse. The Corvan Empire and the Theta Collective were now fighting a real war over mining rights in the Outer Rim. The Zephyrians and the Nexari had stopped all trade with each other over a dispute about intellectual property rights. Worst of all, the Council itself was breaking apart. Members who had once worked together were now forming separate groups based on their old prejudices and fears. High Counselor Yenth called an emergency session of the full council. For the first time in 50 years, not all members showed up. The Corvans and Theta Collective refused to sit in the same room. The Zephyrians sent only a junior representative. We are facing the greatest crisis in galactic history, Yenth announced to the half-empty chamber. Trade has collapsed. Wars are starting. Our research projects are failing. We must find a solution. General Thorak, attending by video link, slammed his fist on his distant table. The solution is simple. Bring back the humans. Impossible, said the Nexari representative through the translation machine. We voted them out. Our pride is at stake. Pride will not feed the starving millions on Zephyrian worlds, croaked High Speaker Zenth. His golden feathers were now streaked with gray from stress. Counselor Myra of the Peaceful Union stood up. I warned you all that this would happen. Humans were not the problem in our galaxy. They were the solution to problems we did not even know we had. They were chaotic and disruptive, insisted the first race representative. Yes, Myra agreed. And that chaos filled the gaps in our ordered society. That disruption prevented our old rivalries from destroying us. The argument continued for hours, but nothing was decided. The council members could not agree on anything. Without human mediators to help them find common ground. Far away from the arguing aliens. In the protected space around Earth, humanity was not idle. They had used the past 2 years to advance their technology and explore new possibilities. Ships had been built unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Scientists had made discoveries that would have amazed their former alien colleagues, but perhaps most importantly, humans had learned to see themselves not as junior members of galactic civilization, but as something unique and valuable in their own right. Ambassador Elena Vasquez, now called Director Vasquez, stood in the command center watching sensor readings from beyond the galaxy's edge. Her eyes held secrets that would have shocked the council members if they had known. Status report on the extragalactic contact project, she said to her aide. Contact established with 3 separate civilizations beyond our galaxy, came the reply. All are interested in cultural exchange, Elena smiled. The galaxy that had rejected humanity was about to discover that humans had found new friends among the stars. Friends who appreciated human creativity, adaptability, and courage. The Council's crisis was just beginning. The warning came at dawn on what would become known as the darkest day in galactic history. Deep space sensors across the rim worlds detected something massive moving toward inhabited space. At first, the readings made no sense. The objects were bigger than moons but moved faster than any known ship. Commander Vex of the Outer Rim Defense Force was the first to understand what they were seeing. Her tentacles shook with fear as she read the sensor data on her screen. Send priority alert to all council worlds, she ordered her communication officer. The ancient defense network has awakened. Every species in the galaxy knew the stories about the ancient defense network. Long ago, before any of the current races had developed space travel, a powerful civilization had built enormous automated war machines. These machines were designed to protect the galaxy from invasion by unknown enemies from beyond the stars, but the ancient civilization had disappeared. Millions of years ago, their war machines had been sleeping in the dark spaces between stars. Ever since, Most galactic citizens believed they were just myths and legends. They were wrong. The first ancient war machine emerged from deep space near the Zephyrian colonies. It was a metal pyramid the size of a small planet, covered in weapons that glowed with terrible energy. When it spoke, its voice was heard on every communication channel in the galaxy at once. Unknown biological entities detected in protected space, the machine announced in a voice like grinding metal. Classification: potential invaders. Response: immediate termination. The machine opened fire on the nearest Zephyrian world. Beams of pure energy turned cities into glass and mountains into dust. In 3 hours, a planet that had been home to 50 million Zephyrians became a dead rock floating in space. Panic spread across the galaxy faster than light. More ancient machines were awakening and moving toward inhabited worlds. The council called an emergency meeting, but the members were too terrified to think clearly. "We need our combined fleets to fight these machines," High Counselor Yenth announced to the council chamber. Half the seats were empty because representatives were fleeing to their homeworlds. "Our fleets?" General Thorak laughed bitterly. "The Corvan Empire has 40 battle cruisers. The Theta Collective has 60 destroyers. The Nexari have research ships with light weapons. How do we fight planet-sized war machines with that?" "We work together," Yenth insisted. "All our fleets, united as one force." Crystal Singer Vorth's translation device carried his mournful song. "Unity requires leadership. Who commands this combined fleet?" "The Corvans will not follow Theta Collective orders. The Zephyrians will not trust Nexari tactics." The truth hit the council like a cold wave. For 300 years, when the galaxy faced threats, human military leaders had commanded the combined fleets. Human admirals were trusted by all races because they had proven themselves to be fair and skilled in battle. Human tactics were flexible and creative, able to adapt to any enemy. Now there were no humans to lead them. "We can choose our own commanders," suggested the representative from the New Worlds Alliance. "From which race?" Thorak demanded. "Every race will claim their military leaders are the best. Every race will refuse to take orders from rivals. We will spend more time arguing about leadership than fighting the enemy." As the council argued, more ancient machines attacked inhabited worlds. The mechanical pyramids moved with purpose and intelligence, targeting major population centers and industrial facilities. Their weapons were beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Nexari tried to fight back with their most advanced ships. The crystal beings believed their superior technology would give them an advantage. They were wrong. The ancient machines destroyed the Nexari fleet in minutes, their energy weapons cutting through crystal hulls like knives through paper. The Corvan Empire sent their toughest battle cruisers to defend their mining worlds. The stone-skinned warriors had never retreated from any fight, but their heavy ships were too slow and their tactics too predictable. The ancient machines outmaneuvered them easily, destroying the entire Corvan fleet without taking a single hit in return. The Theta Collective tried using swarm tactics, sending hundreds of small ships to attack one machine from all directions. The ancient pyramid simply activated a weapon that sent out waves of energy in all directions. Every Theta ship within 1,000 kilometers was destroyed instantly. Within 1 week, 6 inhabited worlds had been destroyed and most of the galaxies. Military fleets were gone. The ancient machines showed no mercy and accepted no surrender. They seemed programmed to eliminate all biological life from the galaxy. In desperation, the surviving council members gathered on the neutral world of Haven Station. The meeting was smaller than any council session in history. Many races had lost their representatives when their homeworlds were attacked. "We need help," High Speaker Zenth admitted. His golden feathers were now completely gray with stress and fear. "Our weapons are useless. Our tactics are too rigid. Our commanders cannot work together. There is only one military force in the galaxy that might be able to stop these machines," said Counselor Myra. Her cat-like ears were flat against her head with worry. Everyone in the room knew what she meant. Everyone also knew it was probably impossible. "The humans," Yenth said quietly. "But we cannot contact them. The barrier around their system blocks all communication. And even if we could contact them, added the Nexari representative, why would they help us? We threw them out of the galaxy. We told them they were not wanted. General Thorax stood up slowly. The big Kavan's stone face was cracked with grief for his lost soldiers, because that is what humans do. They help people who need help, even. People who have treated them badly. You think they would forgive us? Asked the Zephyrian representative. I think they would help us even if they do not forgive us, Thorak replied. That is why they were valuable allies. That is why we were fools to send them away. The council members sat in silence, thinking about their situation. The galaxy was dying around them. Ancient war machines were destroying everything their civilizations had built over thousands of years. Military fleets that had taken decades to build were gone in hours, and somewhere beyond the mysterious barrier around Earth, humanity was safe and protected while the galaxy that had rejected them burned. How do we get through the barrier? Myra asked. We send a ship to the edge of human space, Yenth decided. We broadcast our message toward Earth and hope they are listening. What message? Asked the Nexari representative. Yenth was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with shame and regret. We tell them the truth. We tell them we were wrong. We tell them we need their help. We tell them we are sorry. 3 days later, a small diplomatic ship approached the invisible barrier around the Sol system. The ship carried representatives from all the surviving council races. They had volunteered for what everyone believed was probably a suicide mission. As the ship reached the edge of human space, something incredible happened. The barrier became visible for a moment, shimmering like water in sunlight. The ship could see massive structures inside the barrier, space stations and ships unlike anything that had existed when humans left galactic space. The diplomatic ship sent out its message on all frequencies. Attention, human government. This is the Galactic Council requesting emergency communication. Our galaxy is under attack by ancient war machines. We have lost multiple worlds and most of our fleets. We know we have no right to ask for your help after what we did to your people. But billions of innocent lives are at stake. Please respond. The message repeated over and over for 6 hours. The diplomats began to fear that the humans were ignoring them, or perhaps could not hear them through the barrier. Then, just as they were about to give up hope, something changed. The barrier opened like a door, and a single human ship emerged. It was unlike any human vessel the galaxy had ever seen. It was sleek and silver with curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Energy patterns danced across its hull in colors that had no names. The human ship moved alongside the diplomatic vessel and opened a communication channel. The face that appeared on the screen was older and wiser than the council members remembered. But they recognized him immediately. It was Admiral Chun, who had once served as Elena Vasquez's military advisor. Council representatives, Admiral. Chun said formally. You have requested communication with humanity. I am authorized to speak for Earth and all human colonies. Admiral, High Counselor Yenth said, his voice shaking with relief and shame. We know we have no right to ask, but our galaxy is dying. We need help. Admiral Chun's expression did not change. We are aware of the situation with the ancient defense network. We have been monitoring galactic communications. You knew about the attack? Myra asked. We knew it was coming, Chun replied calmly. The ancient machines activate every few million years when they detect what they consider to be overpopulation of biological species. We found records of previous activations during our research. The council representatives stared at him in shock. The humans had known this would happen, but they had not warned the galaxy. Why did you not tell us? Zenth demanded. Admiral Chun's eyes grew cold. Because 3 years ago, this galaxy decided it did not want human knowledge or human help. You made it. 7 days passed before Admiral Chun gave his answer. 7 days while ancient war machines destroyed 3 more inhabited worlds. 7 days while the council waited in desperate hope at the edge of human space. When the barrier around Earth opened again, it was not just one ship that emerged. It was a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Hundreds of vessels flowed out of the barrier like silver fish swimming through dark water. The ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy patterns that shifted and changed like living light. The council representatives aboard their small diplomatic ship stared in amazement. These were not the bulky, practical human ships they remembered. These vessels were works of art that happened to be weapons of war. Admiral Chen's face appeared on their communication screen again. Behind them, they could see the bridge of his flagship. It was filled with humans working at stations that seemed to respond to thought rather than touch. Council representatives, Chun said formally. Humanity has decided to respond to your request for assistance. High Counselor Yenth felt his first spark of hope in weeks. Thank you, Admiral. Our combined fleets are ready to follow your commands. There are no combined fleets, Chun replied calmly. Your military forces have been destroyed. We monitored the battles. Your tactics were predictable and your coordination was poor. The words stung because they were true. General Thorax's stone face showed his shame. Then how do we fight the ancient machines? You do not fight them, Chun said. We do. Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding on the diplomatic ship. Their sensors showed a massive ancient war machine approaching from the direction of the destroyed Nexari homeworld. The metal pyramid was twice the size of the others they had seen, its weapons already charging with deadly energy. All ships withdraw immediately, Chun ordered. Do not interfere with our operations. The human fleet moved toward the ancient machine with fluid grace. The council representatives watched from a safe distance as the two forces prepared to meet. They expected to see the same overwhelming destruction that had claimed every other fleet. What happened next would be remembered as the moment the galaxy learned what humanity had become. The ancient machine fired first, sending beams of energy that had vaporized entire cities. But the human ships simply were not there when the beams arrived. They flowed around the attacks like water flowing around stones, never stopping their advance. The human ships did not fire the massive energy weapons that other races favored. Instead, they released swarms of tiny objects that moved too fast for sensors to track properly. These objects struck the ancient machine's hull and seemed to disappear into the metal. For a moment, nothing happened. The ancient machine continued firing, its weapons searching for targets that refused to stay still long enough to be hit. Then the great war machine simply stopped. Its weapons went dark. Its engines fell silent. The massive pyramid hung in space. Like a dead asteroid. What did you do to it? Myra asked in amazement. We did not destroy it, Chun explained. We reprogrammed it. The ancient machines are not evil. They are tools created to protect the galaxy from invasion. We convinced this one that we are not invaders. How? Asked the Nexari representative. Chun smiled for the first time since the conversation began. We spoke to it in mathematics. We showed it our genetic codes and proved we evolved in this galaxy. We demonstrated that we are native life, not invaders from beyond the stars. The council representatives felt a mix of relief and confusion. But why did it attack us then? Because the galaxy's population has grown beyond the limits programmed into the ancient machines millions of years ago, Chun explained. They were designed to activate when biological life reached a certain density. That happened about 5 years ago. High Speaker Zenth's gray feathers rustled with understanding. You knew this would happen. You could have prevented the attacks. Yes, Chun admitted. We could have reprogrammed the machines years ago. We could have updated their parameters to account for modern population levels. We could have saved all those worlds. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken accusations. Why did you not warn us? Yenth asked quietly. Chun's expression hardened. Because 3 years ago, the Galactic Council told humanity that our knowledge was dangerous and unwanted. You said we asked too many questions about ancient technology. You said we were too reckless in our exploration of old ruins. You voted us out of civilized space because we studied things you preferred to leave alone. The truth hit the council members like a physical blow. They had rejected human curiosity about ancient technology. They had called human archaeological expeditions dangerous and unnecessary. They had preferred to leave the old machines sleeping rather than understand them. We made a mistake, Thoric admitted. You made several mistakes, Chun corrected. But the biggest one was believing that the galaxy could function without diversity of thought and approach. As they spoke, the human fleet was spreading across the galaxy. Wherever ancient machines appeared, human ships were there to meet them. Not with violence, but with communication. One by one, the great war machines went silent as human programmers convinced them that the galaxy's inhabitants were not invaders to be destroyed. Within 3 days, the crisis was over. The ancient machines returned to their dormant state, their programming updated to account for the current state of galactic civilization. The Council representatives requested permission to come aboard Admiral Chun's flagship to offer formal thanks. They were surprised when he agreed. The interior of the human ship was even more amazing than its exterior. Corridors curved in impossible directions. Gravity seemed to flow like water, allowing people to walk on walls and ceilings as needed. The technology was so advanced it seemed like magic. How did you advance so quickly? Myra asked as Chen led them through the ship. We had help, Chun replied. When humanity was forced to leave galactic civilization, we looked beyond this galaxy for friends and allies. We found civilizations among the stars that appreciated human curiosity and creativity. They shared their knowledge with us. They arrived at a vast observation deck where they could see through transparent walls into space. What they saw there took their breath away. Floating alongside the human ships were vessels from dozens of other civilizations. The Council representatives recognized none of the designs. These were ships from beyond their galaxy, from civilizations that had been exploring the universe while the Galactic Council had been content to stay in their small corner of space. You made contact with extragalactic species, Yenth said in wonder. Many of them, Chun confirmed. Civilizations that have existed for millions of years. Beings who have solved problems the Council never even knew existed. They were fascinated by humanity's unique approach to challenges. What makes humans unique? Asked the Nexari representative. Chun considered the question carefully. Most intelligent species develop along predictable paths. They become logical, like the Nexari, or traditional like the Corvans, or hierarchical like the first race. Humans developed all of these traits and more, but never settled on just one approach. We remain chaotic and diverse, and that made us valuable to civilizations that had become too set in their ways. Added another voice. The Council representatives turned to see a familiar figure approaching. It was Elena Vasquez, though she looked different now. She moved with a confidence and authority that seemed to fill the room. Director Vasquez, Yenth said with surprise. You are well, very well, Elena replied with a smile. Humanity has thrived in our isolation. We have grown and learned and become something greater than we were. Will you return to the galaxy? Myra asked hopefully. Will you rejoin galactic civilization? Elena's expression grew thoughtful. The galaxy rejected us because we were different, because we asked uncomfortable questions and challenged comfortable assumptions. Has that changed? The Council representatives looked at each other uncertainty. They wanted to say yes, but they knew the truth. Most of their people would still be uncomfortable with human unpredictability and chaos. We have learned the value of diversity, Yenth said carefully. Have you? Elena asked. Or have you learned the danger of rejecting it? She walked to the observation window and looked out at the stars. The universe is vast and full of wonders that your civilizations have never imagined. While you were building walls around your comfortable corner of space, humanity has been exploring what lies beyond. Are you leaving? Zenth asked with growing fear. Elena nodded slowly. Our new allies are preparing to depart for the Andromeda Galaxy. There are mysteries there that need curious minds to solve them. There are challenges that need flexible thinking to overcome them. But what about us? Thoric asked desperately. What about the galaxy you saved? Elena turned back to face them. Her expression was kind but firm. You will do what you did before humans arrived in this galaxy thousands of years ago. You will find your own way. You will solve your own problems. You will learn to work together without someone else holding your hands. But we need you, Myra pleaded. The crisis with the ancient machines proved that. No, Elena said gently. The crisis proved that you had become dependent on us in ways that were not healthy for any of us. You stopped.